Actually, I want to pose a statement. Is there power in retrospection? I think there is power in retrospection. These past few days have been fascinating because we have been seeing and hearing a lot about the fact that COVID-19 truly started impacting us a year ago. The Today Show did a 5-minute package on the news stories of the last year about COVID starting after we first started hearing about it back in 2019. Matter of fact, it was very interesting. They actually did a whole big feature for about 5 minutes that basically just featured the headlines leading up from when we first found out about it, back in 2019, all the way to a couple days ago when President Biden announced that by May 1st, all Americans, regardless of their conditions, their age, as long as they're 16 or older, should be able to receive the vaccine. And they kind of did everything in between. And it was very fascinating to hear how the different news personalities talk about how they did or didn't take things as seriously when it first started. Even as I was thinking, I didn't think it was truly going to be as bad as it's been. One of the interviews with Dr. Fauci really stuck to me. He was asked, what do you know now that you didn't know then that you would have impacted the decisions you made and the advice you would have given? I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit. And I really appreciated what he said. He said, while there's always room for improvement, you only can do what you can do with what you have. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that because, a lot of times we tend to play Monday morning quarterback, what should have happened, this, and this, because we have a lot more information than, the people did at the moment. Mm-hmm. I remember one day I was sitting around, we were sitting around the house with my dad. This was a few years ago, and we were kind of laughing. You retrospect, think about how life was growing up, and we were kind of joking about some of the, just some of the things that my dad would do, especially with disciplining us as kids, and we were kind of laughing and joking about it. And my dad he was a real good sport about it at first, and then all of a sudden, he leaned back. I'll never forget. He leaned back, and he got this real serious face on his face, and he said, I did the best I could with what I knew. Mm-hmm. And that hit me. And I appreciate that, first of all. Dad, if you're listening, I want to tell you, I talk about that a lot. Whenever I'm out speaking somewhere, I reflect on that because that spoke to me a lot because, being a dad, I recognize that I'm going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. 11 years of marriage come May. Oh my gosh, as a husband, I know there are many mistakes that I made, going into it. There are mistakes I'm going to make because, we got at least 11 more coming, But, one of the things I appreciated was he did the best he could with what he had. And I really appreciate about that. And that moment was my first lesson in the power of retrospection. Retrospection is defined as simply the action of looking back on or reviewing past events or situations, especially those in one's own life. A man by the name of Milan Kundera, author of Laughable Love, said, "We pass through the present with our eyes blindfolded. We are permitted merely to sense and guess at what we are actually experiencing. Only later, when the cloth is untied, can we glance at the past and find out what we have experienced and what meaning it has." And, that's very powerful. Mm-hmm. I think about the times when we go through situations we don't really know. I think of COVID. We had no clue. It was a disease that we had never seen before. I think about the fact that I'm a senior manager at work, and we had never experienced the governor telling all the workforce to go home indefinitely. Mm. And I'm going back to it. Like, I seriously thought, it's going to be a couple weeks, maybe a month. Like, this is get a little serious. Mm-hmm. But little did I know that here we would be a year later, we'd still be in this situation. And I look back and like, man, there's some things. How could you have known what to do? Right? And so I want to challenge you all as we're going through our lives is, first of all, I want you to give yourself permission to have an opportunity of retrospection, recognizing that you're not perfect. The only perfect person I know was a man who walked on water, turned water to wine, fed 5,000 out of 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And even then, he wasn't just a man. He was also 100% God. You know what I'm saying? Right. So unless you have that deity as a part of you, you got to give yourselves permission to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. That's what humans do, right? Absolutely. And then what you have to do is, though, recognize that, put yourself in a position where, you know what, I am willing and able to change up, right? Flexibility, right? I'm going to look back. I'm going to take some time to do a hot wash in my life, do a hot wash in my situation, do some retrospection, and I think you're going to see some things move forward for you, because ultimately what it does is allows us to move towards greater growth. And so that's my heads up for you all today. There is power in retro.